Be no more. Welcome to the Last Star Wars podcast and episode 3 of our Indiana Jones Mutual Rankings Marathon. I'm your host, Spencer Chandler, here with my co-host, Christian Miller.
What's up? How's everybody doing?
I introduced you like it's a game show. Christian Miller.
Yeah.
It's like The Price is Right. Come on down.
Brand new car. Yeah.
I wish. That'd be nice. Anyway, so
wanna get into it?
Yeah. How's your week been? Any fun stories?
Yes, I have a Star Wars story. Past 2 weeks we've just gone right into like Indiana Jones, but I have a Star Wars story.
Yep.
So I was getting food from a food truck last Friday, I think. And I was wearing my Directed by Ryan Johnson hat.
As you should.
Yeah. And as I was getting my food, the server who was like looking down at me, it's a food truck, they're like way above me. And she was just like, the guys in the kitchen just wanted to say they think your hat's really funny. And I was like, what? Because that's just like a courtesy what? Just to make sure I know what I'm hearing, and like I probably had headphones in or something.
Yeah.
And then the second one, that we think your hat's funny. And I was like, what? What do you mean funny? She's like, your hat, it's just like, we thought it was a joke or something. So just, and I was like, no, I just really love Ryan Johnson. I like Last Jedi. I like Knives Out. And she goes like, oh, okay, that's cool. She's like, oh, that rocks. And then I just left with my food.
So she thought you were like hating on The Last Jedi?
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah, because I would definitely wear a Directed by Ryan Johnson hat if I hated The Last Jedi.
Yeah. I just like that put so many thoughts in my head as I was going to sit down. I was just like, what was going through their head?
Oh no, they think I'm a toxic Star Wars fan.
Really? Because like you don't have to like Ryan Johnson, but like you're a toxic Star Wars fan if you're wearing that hat in protest.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. Like,
and it's from Super Yaki. We've talked about them plenty of times. Hopefully, we'll get to have them sponsor us at some point because they do that.
That would be epic.
They, I don't know. It's like that. I guess because people who have heard of these hats are only in that sort of circle. But I don't know. You'd think that it'd be obvious that like someone's trying to proclaim that their head is directed by Ryan Johnson, or
yeah. Well,
the most acceptable misinterpretation would be I, the person, am directed by Ryan Johnson.
Yeah.
If you're confused in that way, I'd be like, yeah, sure.
Yeah. The closest thing I've had to a Star Wars story in the past week is whenever I hear people arguing about Star Wars, especially if they're in like a very heated argument, or even if they're not in a heated argument, but they're both agreeing on like how bad the sequels are, like how bad The Last Jedi is, but how good Rise of Skywalker is, I tend not to put in my opinion on those conversations, especially if I'm tired, because I just don't want to have to deal with it, and so I was playing in an Ultimate Frisbee tournament last weekend, and me and the rest of the team, we all stayed in one Airbnb, and in the kitchen I hear two of the guys who are discussing Star Wars, and they're like, man, Disney, not it. They don't know what to do with Star Wars. Like, all the sequels are bad, except for the last one. It's pretty good. And I was like, wow, so many wrong things were just said in like the last 5 seconds of conversation. But then he's like, but Jar Jar Binks, yeah, that's what's up. And I was like, whoa. Like, where are all of your opinions coming from? And all this, I'm just like sitting on the couch hearing these guys talk from the kitchen. And I walk in, and all I do, I peek my head and I go, The Last Jedi is the best Star Wars movie. And then I back out, and they're like, what? And then I said, you heard me. And then I backed out and I sat back down. I engaged no longer in the conversation. But yeah, that's it. I've had so many of those moments in the past few weeks where I just like don't interfere with the conversation because I don't want to like argue with people at 9 a.m. But that was a good one. I felt like I had to butt in at least once, but it was so weird.
Did
Like I've never heard someone like I hate Disney, but I love Jar Jar Binks. Like,
yeah. Does is that actually what you think that Last Jedi is the best one?
uh, I think it's second, but I just wanted to cause an argument.
Yeah, like it's close enough. That,
It's
like,
close enough that I can say it and not be lying.
yeah,
You know, like I think it's my number two because I think Empire will always be my favorite. But um, yeah, no, they were just like trashing on it, and so I was like, I think differently. Let me go put in my opinion. So
yeah.
yeah, so that was fun. And then we didn't talk about Star Wars for the rest of the day. I don't know if it's because of that or if they just like no one else cares. But yeah, but we're not here to talk about Star Wars today, so we should probably get on to the actual topic. So as you can tell by the title, this is episode 3 of our mutual rankings marathon for Indiana Jones. And today we're going to be talking about Raiders of the Lost Ark. Personally, this one is my favorite, I think. I haven't seen Last Crusade in a while, but this one was my favorite last time I checked. Christian, is your favorite Last Crusade?
Yeah, that's why we're saving that one
Yeah,
for the last one.
I figured.
And so for Temple of Doom and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you had not seen since you were like 12, right? But this one,
Temple of Doom, I think I saw when I was like 15 or 16 last, but no, like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it had been forever since I'd seen that movie. This one, I think I watched like last year. We watched this
yeah,
one together last time I saw it.
yeah, that was relatively recently.
Yeah.
And then Last Crusade.
Last Crusade, I think I've seen not as recent as Raiders of the Lost Ark, but still pretty recently, considering it's one of the better ones. Um, so yeah, I've seen that one recently, but we're now getting into the territory where I know every like nook and cranny about these movies because I've seen this one so many times, and this was like my favorite. This one is if you go look on my if you guys don't know what Letterbox is, by the way, you should go look at it. It's pretty awesome. But if you go look at my Letterbox account, I think this movie is listed as my number 2 favorite movie of all time. Right behind Empire Strikes Back. Um, so yeah, I love Raiders of the Lost Ark. Even if I'm like watching it by myself in my room, it's still like just awesome. And seeing I can get into like weird stuff as we go throughout the movie. But yeah, there's just so many weird things about this movie that is like they make it in a way that you don't make movies like this anymore because it's just like people don't like it anymore. And I love those little beats. Like a lot of the fight scenes are filmed in a weird way with like no music and no dialogue, and it's just like weird punches. And I'm like, that's kind of funny. Like I like it. It's like
It's I don't know. Like I definitely see what you're saying about like certain shortcuts are made nowadays, but like for the '80s, this was an extraordinarily exceptional movie.
oh yeah, absolutely.
That like you know the common blockbuster's not going to be like this, but there are the exceptional ones like a John Wick movie per se. Is the one
Yeah.
that came to mind that
Yeah.
is doing like similar things with action. Um, but yeah, it's a rip roaring good time all the
It
way
is.
through.
And there's also multiple points in this movie that I'm fairly certain Harrison Ford's lines are dubbed over because they seem way too clear when he's running through the streets of Egypt. His lines are way I'm like that has to be dubbed over. There's no way that they're like that clear on a set unless he's wearing a mic, which would be
Yeah.
rare in the 80s. But
Um,
anyway,
anything else broadly about this movie before we head off with the killer opening of
oh yeah.
Paramount logo?
So another one more broad thing. I've started to realize that every Indiana Jones movie starts off with one of Indiana Jones's friends almost discovering something, and then Indiana Jones just finishing it. He never like, or like accidentally finding himself in a situation where he has to do it. It's like he never actually gets what he wants. Like starts he never
Yeah,
starts the
I see
movie
what you mean.
with a motivation and then fulfills it, like
Yeah,
ever.
the first artifact is never the main artifact.
Well,
Is that
and
what you
most of the
mean?
time he never even gets it. Like in this movie, he didn't even get it.
The which one you mean? Like the opening, like the
Yeah,
idol.
the Belloc takes it. Like he
Yeah.
doesn't get it. And so I've found that in most movies they all start out with like someone's in trouble. Oh no, they were looking for this thing, and then Indiana Jones like I can find it, and then like finishes their search or whatever, which I just think is funny. But yeah, no, we can go back to the beginning. What do you think about the Paramount logo?
Well, I don't. Okay. I'm not sure if it's even the same one, but like at the end they show this Paramount logo. Will you allow me to share my screen?
I will allow you to share your screen only because you're my friend. So
Okay.
this will
Oh,
only make sense
I
if you're
do.
watching the video version of the podcast.
It's not going to show up. Yeah, there's software against it.
Oh, heck yeah.
That's not cool. Never mind.
We love that. Anyway,
Anyway, I was just trying to. But you know how like the Paramount logo comes up and then it fades out to an actual mountain.
yes.
Similar, and like they riff on that King of the Crystal Skull with the groundhog and the
Yeah.
meerkat sort of mount. That was insignificant. I just wanted to get us starting with something visual.
Yeah. Well, they filmed this in Hawaii, by the way, if you couldn't tell. I don't know why I know that. Oh, it said it in on the Amazon Prime. It was like, fun fact, filmed in Hawaii. Um, Another fun fact, this is Alfred Molina's first credited role ever. I did not know that. I knew that Alfred Molina was in this movie. Growing up, I was like, oh my gosh, that's Doc Ock. That's crazy. But I did not know that this is even before he did. Oh, what was the Western movie he did? Is that a Clint Eastwood movie that he was in? No,
Seen Unforgiven?
no. I'll look it up. But yeah, this was.
Wild Wild West?
No, I'm thinking about it. I had to watch it in my senior year film class, but he's in
True
a
Grit?
no. You I mean you can keep naming them until you eventually get it, but I may also
Other
be
True Grit?
the other one. No. I might be completely mistaken that he was not in one, but I could have sworn that he was in some sort of like Western movie where he was, I don't know, wearing a, I don't know, man. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore, but it is what it is. He was in Rango.
I cursed you when I started badgering you to use IMDb like 3 years ago, and now it's like all you do.
I'm not on IMDb. Okay, I think I'm mistaken. I don't think he was in him. Okay, never mind. Oh. He was in Maverick. That's what it is. He was in Maverick,
Maverick.
the old Mel Gibson movie. He's a poker star or whatever.
Not familiar with the feature film.
Anyway, you should watch it. It's a really good movie. But anyway, so yeah, this is he's playing. I don't. So it's spelled Satipo. Is how his name is spelled, but Indy pronounces it Sapito.
Yeah,
He
I noticed
pronounces
that because I had subtitles on.
he pronounced it wrong because I always thought his name was Sapito, and then I saw it spelled and realized that it's not.
Yeah, it's something that they just didn't correct with
I was about to
the
say, is that
credits.
something that or is that something that Harrison Ford just pronounced wrong and they were like, whatever?
Oh yeah, I think it's like they had the credits, for shooting, and then
Yeah,
he says it wrong, and then they don't catch it by the time it's in the final cut, and they
yeah.
release everything.
I think another thing about this opening scene that's really weird after watching Crystal Skull and Temple of Doom before this is you realize how simple the traps were when they started out. Like there was like two traps and then oop, you're at the thing. But then in like Temple of Doom, it's like, all right, there's like three different hallways each one has a different puzzle. And then a Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you're on a whole nother level because you need an alien skull to get through here.
Yeah,
It all started out with pressure plates in the floor and being like kind of realistic.
yeah. I mean, it's like Breath of the Wild. You start at the simple things.
I've played Breath of
Neither have I. I still have an Xbox 360. I am a poser for doing any sort of modern gaming reference.
I mean, honestly, same though. But anyway, yeah. So we get the iconic shot of him running from the boulder. Which why does he not just step to the side? Who knows? Um, One thing from a filmmaking perspective that I love about the opening scene, I know I'm going back a little bit, but the whole like beginning where the only people that you see are um, Satipo and Baraka, and all they're doing is like following Indiana Jones, but you don't see his face. I love that, and then like the reveal of Harrison Ford, I really love that like weird like oh who's the hero even though you already know who it is.
Yeah. If yeah, it was like I mean, you look at the poster for this. It was like the new hero from the creators of Jaws and Star Wars. They
Yeah,
were conscious from the beginning of trying to make an icon, and I think that's kind of bold that like they were setting out to this standard and then like exceeded it.
well, I mean these are two of the greatest directors of all time that made this movie, and so it's no doubt that they did it. They absolutely did it. And again, you're getting on to me for using IMDb, but the same guy that played the explorer that was with Satipo and Indy at the beginning also plays the Monkey Man.
The Monkey Man.
Eye patch
Yeah.
in Egypt. Same guy. I don't think it's the same character because he dies.
Yeah.
But he's literally listed on the cast as Monkey Man, which I think is funny. But yeah, that's one of those. I saw a thing today about if there was a Oscar for best single shot in a film, what shots would you like? And like the idol shot of Indy like sitting down with the idol with the sandbag in his hand, like that's iconic. Um, Literally in the first 10 minutes of the movie, Spielberg and Lucas like made one of the most iconic shots in movie history right there. Um, and then we never see the idol again because it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie other than the fact that Belloc is one of the villains in this movie.
Yeah, but I feel like even like having not seen the movie all the way through and like during my childhood, the image of the idol is still very iconic. Like I've
Oh yeah,
remembered
I
what it
remembered
looked
for a
like.
long time the idol more than the actual rest of the movie.
Yeah, but also it could have been because of like I went to like Disney World at 4 years old, and like I think they used footage in this like tourism sort of promotional tape that we got in the mail or whatever,
Yeah,
and it's like promoting their Indiana Jones act, basically.
they had
The
an
stunt
Indiana
act.
Jones act.
Yeah, in Hollywood Studios.
Oh, they did. It was like a big stunt performance.
Yeah,
I remember that. I did go
there's
to
a
that.
so yeah. I was not allowed to go when I was 4, but I did get to see the thing when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
My parents or my mom and sister brought me to the Beauty and the Beast show instead because
Oh, the Be Our Guest. Yeah.
it was going to be too much. Well, wait, what do you mean be our guest?
Be Our Guest is the restaurant where you
No,
can.
not that. It was like a stage production.
Oh, sick.
Um, so and then so yeah, I saw it when I was like 14. I went to Disney World when I was 14. To put it in perspective, the day that I left was the day that Spider-Man, the rights went to Marvel Studios, or like
Ooh,
where it was announced that he was going to show up in Civil War. So
nice.
remember that. Yeah, this is a segment called Christian's Memory. So yeah. Anyway, I probably remember that idol being shown in the VHS tape that was promoting the act. That could be totally wrong, but I remember the boulder, especially
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And yeah, to go further into what the act was, it was basically just the plane scene. I think
Oh
there
yeah.
might have been a Boulder segment, but the most memorable thing was the plane scene. They just had him do this thing with the big guy. All the Nazi swastikas were replaced with like black crosses.
Yeah, because you can't have a bunch of swastikas at Disney World. That's
Yeah,
a setup for failure.
especially
So
because it's partially outdoors, so you could just
yeah,
like
because then
fly
somebody just
over.
takes a picture of it, and then it looks like that Disney is promoting the Nazis, and that's just not good. That's not
Yeah,
good.
and yeah, I don't know if they always have done this, but they would be like, "Hey, can we have a volunteer from the crowd come up?" Um, and like they get caught up in the scene, and then at the end you find out that it's like an actual stunt
Oh, I was about to say, there's no way they would let somebody do that.
performer.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine them be like, "Hey, can we have an audience member?" And it's like some 5-year-old, and there's like in the middle of it, they're like, "Oh, God, what's going on?" And then a stunt performer decks them.
Yeah,
And you're supposed to dodge it.
careful, those propellers are sharp.
Uh, weird memory from me. I after this movie, I got so in love with Indiana Jones that I made people call me Indiana when I was little. I literally would not respond to them if they called me by my real name. Made them call me Indiana. This is after I went through a phase where I made people call me Luke.
Okay, didn't you say like last week, unrelated to the podcast, that you wanted to be called Peter Parker?
Yeah, there were 3 different phases. The major one was Luke. I went by Luke for like a year and a half. Like signed my papers Luke at school. It was not good. It was
Did they
bad.
catch on in any way?
Oh, they were supposed to be Luke Skywalker. They knew that from the beginning.
What?
Are you saying did any of my teachers catch on?
Yeah, were they calling you Luke?
Oh, I was in preschool, so yeah. Because they were like,
How,
he's cute.
so if you hadn't moved on to like Peter Parker or Indiana Jones, you probably would have still been called Luke today.
No, because I would have been smart and realized that that's stupid.
No, I mean, I think by the third time you change your name, they're like, okay, he's not serious. We're just gonna call him Spencer. But if you stuck with Luke for maybe another year, I think you'd still be Luke today.
Maybe. Indy was the second one, and then Peter was third because I remember for my 7th birthday, I dressed up as Peter Parker, and I went to the store with my grandmother at one point, dressed in like full Spider-Man garb with the mask on and everything. And somebody came up and like knew my grandmother and was like, "Hey Spencer, hope you have a nice day." And I looked at my grandmother and went, "How does she know my secret identity?" In the middle of the store. Yeah, no, I was a weird kid, man. Be glad you didn't know me when I was like 7. You would have thought I was weird. But yeah, no, I went by
No,
Indy for a while.
I've always been nerdy, but I think I at that point in my life probably wasn't as nerdy.
Nah, dude. When I tell
I
you I've
was
been Star Wars
memorizing
fan
baseball
since
player
day
names.
one. Star Wars fan since day one, baby. I used to go by Luke. Dang, that's crazy.
Okay. Okay, so the second minute of Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's get to the second minute. Um, can I just one more thing about the opening scene? I used to another like quote that I used to quote movies for some reason when I was little, like all the time. I know I say another thing I
You
used to
still
quote
do.
when I was little. Yeah, but I was doing it when I was like 6 for like no reason whatsoever. Like I would just walk into the room and be like, "Luke, I'm your father." Like I don't I don't know why I would do it. I don't get it. But another one
Just in an
was
entirely different cadence. Just be like, many Bothans died to give us this information. Just totally change how it's said.
Yeah, no, but the one that I would always do from this movie, there are two from this movie that I would say a lot, but the main one, I'm gonna turn away from my camera or from my mic so I can kind of yell it. But I would always like run through the house and go, Jack, start the play. I
That's
would like
good.
run through my house screaming that at the top of my lungs.
Yeah, because yeah, that's what every kid wants to be. They want to be the person doing an adventure and then having a nice little buddy who's gonna get them out of it.
Who has a pet snake named Reggie?
Yeah,
Oh, that's just my pet snake named Reggie.
we never see Reggie again or Jock.
Or Jock. Yeah, he's one of those I always wish came back, but he never does. Which is sad. He's probably just like one of those like hired out pilots that Indy hires, because he can. Um, but yeah, that's the first scene. I'm glad that it took us this long to get through the first 10 minutes of the movie.
But hey, it proves how fun it is that we can connect it to so many other memories and even other like experiences with like altered versions of the movie.
Yeah. It made us talk about Star Wars. So maybe Indiana Jones is Star Wars? Future episode? Hint, hint. No, I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that.
Well, wait, which one is the movie that has the C-3PO and R2-D2 like cave engraving?
Wait, I look it up. Stall for time, quick.
Yeah, this is like not like a theory, but just like one of those things that when I was like 14.
Oh, it's
would,
this
like,
movie.
Find out from Watch Mojo or whatever.
It's in this movie. It's whenever he is taking the lid off of the Ark of the Covenant, there's an R2D2 and C3PO on the little post in a hieroglyph.
Yeah, so they're connected, and
It means they're the same universe.
yeah, and ET as well.
And ET, yeah. Which means
Well,
what
not
we
necessarily.
already knew that ET and Star Wars were in
Yeah.
because one
Okay.
one of the kids dresses up as Yoda.
Yeah, but Indy and ET could technically be different universes, and just through hyperspace travel, Yoda or ETs from Star Wars have gone to ET land or ET Earth, and C-3PO and R2-D2 have gone to India. They're not. We don't know the Indiana Jones ET connection.
Yeah, but this also means that there are two Harrison Fords in the same universe because there's Han
That's
Solo.
possible. That's totally possible.
Yeah, okay. So there's two guys that look exactly the same. That's like that. That's like the whole Marvel connection where like you realize that Marvel. I mean, not
Okay.
it's where you realize that Star Wars and
Shut it
Marvel.
down. Once you bring up Marvel, we're getting into the movie discussion. Okay,
Sorry.
we're gonna actually talk about this movie.
Yeah, we need to actually talk about it. What happens
Wrong a
second? What
I
happens
don't know.
after?
Are you gonna have to pull it up again?
I'm not pulling up
Boba
the
Fett
movie
trailer?
right now. Stop. I actually am pulling up the movie right now, so I can just watch or so I don't forget anything because this is a 2-hour movie. I'm gonna forget something. Anyway, so right after this, oh, that's when he's in the. That's when they have that really weird scene where the girl's like, "I love you," and it's on her eyelids. What? That's the only thing I can say about that. I don't get it.
I don't know. It's like, what do you mean you don't get it?
I don't get why she would do that instead of just like holding up a piece of paper.
Because it's more like sensual.
Okay.
She's like forcing herself to blink in this like sort of attractive way.
Hmm.
So are we skipping the idol sequence?
Oh, I mean, I talked about it a little bit.
Yeah, it's fun. It's good. Yeah, iconic. Big Rock. So yeah, Indy as a professor gets a lot of gets mostly mostly women students as registering for his classes. Obviously,
Yeah.
because you barely see any guys in there.
I also never noticed that they pass him notes at the end of the class. Did you notice that? A few of the girls like put notes on his desk and like give him
Yeah.
looks. I never noticed that. And
There's one guy who just dropped off an apple
Yeah, he goes here.
And that's like, I feel like that's next level flirting. It's very confusing. You don't know
Yeah,
it's actually it's good. It's more mind games.
and it's a Granny Smith, which is like what? Like wow. Of all the apples to give someone, it's just like you're kind of sour, but I like it.
That's Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I mean, if Indiana Jones was any apple, he'd be a Granny Smith. Let's be honest. He's not sweet enough to be like a Gala or a Fiji.
Okay, so we have
We can just end the
Marcus.
episode now. That was good.
We have the Marcus guy, which I
Marcus
still don't.
Brody.
He's like, he's not even like Q. Like he serves the same function as Q in the James Bond movies, except Q does stuff.
Well, he
And
plays a
Marcus
huge role in the third
wants.
one.
Yeah, it's just like it's just like a random British guy. I just don't remember his face very well. So like going
Yeah.
from different eras out of order, I just like I'm totally lost track of.
Well, he's only in the
Basically,
first two, or he's only in the first and the third one. Um,
but Kingdom of the Crystal Skull as well.
no, he's not. That's a different guy.
What was that guy's name? I thought his name was Marcus.
No, that was
The guy at the academy, college, university.
yes, the guy that fires him is a different guy. That is Charles Stan. What's his last name? What's his last name? Um, I got to IMDb this real quick because I forget exactly what his name is. His name is Charles. And he is another I guess professor at the college who then takes Marcus's place after Marcus dies in the third movie.
I don't remember Marcus dying being like an important part of the third movie.
He
Much less
never
his
mind, never mind, never mind. He
replacement.
doesn't die. He doesn't die. Um he dies between the movies.
Yeah, because continuity doesn't matter. And
Well, because I think the actor died. If I'm not mistaken, I'm fairly certain the actor who plays him died. I could be mistaken, but no, they are two separate guys. Um, this one is wow, we just said his name and now I can't remember his name anymore. Um, Marcus, and he is in this movie, and he's also in the Kingdom, not Kingdom of Crystal, the Last Crusade, and that's it. So yeah,
yeah,
so he plays a bigger role in that movie than he does in this movie. So at this point, he is just Q. But I do like this whole scene of I really like this scene of them like explaining it to Indy and then watching Marcus and Indy like go back and forth like, oh, I know this, like I know this, I know this. And then he randomly turns to the exact right page in a book that has the picture of the Ark of the Covenant on it.
oh, there's this book here that'll explain exactly what you need to know.
Yeah. So yes, the actor who played Marcus Brody died in 1992, which is why he's not in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
I mean, that's just a bad excuse. Just because you're dead doesn't mean you can't show up in a movie.
I mean, yeah, that's good. Uh, I mean, we've seen it a lot of times. Carrie Fisher in Rogue One. Was she dead by that point? No.
She died like a few days, like a week after Rogue One came out.
So no, she was not dead yet. Anyway,
but speaking of Rogue One uses like the same font as its title card as Indiana Jones uses for its titles. The like in Indiana Jones, it's black text with the white outline, but the white is so thick that it's like the black is barely there.
yeah.
I have not looked up the font yet, but it's like that's what Rogue One uses in the movie proper, but it's black and yellow, and I hate it how it's used in Rogue One. I always prefer the floating gold on that trailer.
Yeah.
But do you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. I did not realize that until you said it though. I think it's from what I can see from here, it's white with a black outline for Indiana Jones.
Please share your screen.
It is on my other computer, but I will pull it up. It's for the Last Crusade poster, but I may be mistaken. We will see.
No, I'm not talking about poster. I'm talking about the title card in the movie.
Oh yeah, no, I don't have it then. I don't have it pulled up. Never mind then. But that is cool. That's cool. We like that. So we get introduced. I don't know if I would have wanted to see Marion's dad, but that would have been a cool like. I guess they do the same thing with her dad that they do with Oxley in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, where it's like, hey, this guy that you used to be friends with is in trouble. He's doing this, but this time he's actually dead.
Mm-hmm.
According to Marion, anyway, he is dead. Whether that is true or not, we never see him in any movie. So, but I do love every scene with Marion in this movie. We talked about in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull episode that she is like one of the best characters in that movie, and in this movie, I think she easily is like one of the best characters. I absolutely love every scene with her in it in this movie. The whole scene where she outdrinks that guy is such good foreshadowing for later, or it's like a setup for a later joke so that when she is doing that with Belloc, we like get it. We're like, oh, she's doing this. That's kind of cool. I wish it worked. I wish it worked against Belloc. I got so like absolutely infuriated when she did not get away because it was such a good like setup and then it was going to be a great execution and it didn't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's pretty cool. I don't have any like super big analytical things to say. Um, like I'm sure they're out there by someone else who knows more, but I'm not going to try to force anything.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I think she's like a fun character that like she gets to do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Like she gets to have like fun like moments of like strength, I guess you could say, of like facing down foes, I guess, but she also is like comfortable in her vulnerability and like and her emotions, I guess, and it's like in a way that's like it's always fun to see her interactions with Indy because like Indy is like I guess he's romantic in bits and pieces throughout every movie, but like it feels more integral to his character. In this one, where like he's like, so he starts feeling more compelled to do things out of love and love rather than the great sort of archaeological quest that he's on.
Yeah. And like, I mean, comparing her to Willie in Temple of Doom, she has a reason to be with Indy. It doesn't just feel random that she just like stays with him the whole time. Like she's in it, she's trying to get her money back that she was promised that then burned down with her bar. Like that makes sense. But also she's not just like the helpless one again that like when she stands up to Indy just gets laughed off. I mean, I know I mentioned that in Kingdom of Crystal Skull, but I mean it applies to this movie just as much. That she actually like has a purpose in this movie other than to be the girl that gets captured every time and Indy has to save. Even though that does happen, like that's not her only purpose in this movie. She has plenty of like good character moments for herself throughout the whole movie. But
something that was a little odd that I noticed was when she was reflecting on how Indy sort of left her and like screwed up the relationship with her father. Indy's relationship with Raven.
yeah,
She alludes to what I got out of it was that she's like referencing that the idea of her maybe being his student is what I kind of got out of it. She said she was only a child and she was in love, and Ravenwood was a professor too, and another archaeologist.
Yeah.
And based on the age difference, like it's very possible that Indy met her while she was enrolled at whatever university it was.
Maybe. I'm not sure. It's definitely a thing where like they had a thing. She was much younger than him. Hopefully it was legal. Uh he was friends with her dad, and then when he ruined things with her, he kind of ruined things with her dad as well.
Yeah,
Like in the
but
process.
like everything she says in the bar, she seems pretty spot on. Like, it doesn't seem like there was any justification for whatever Indy did. It seemed
No.
like
No.
he was pretty much in the wrong.
And like he didn't really try to defend himself either. He kind of was just like he was kind of just like, yeah, I did. I can say sorry as many times as I want, or as
With
many
that
times as
being
you want.
said, will you come search for the power of God with me?
He didn't even ask her to go. He just wanted the stupid medallion. She's the one who was like, I'm coming with you.
That's true. Yeah. Which is like, he had to have figured in some way that like it was going to prove to be more complicated. You don't just go to Nepal and like someone gives you their medallion.
Especially not when you dated her and it's her dead dad's.
Yeah.
Also, she conveniently wears the exact medallion he's looking for around her neck at all times and didn't forget to put it on that morning.
What's actually, it's funny that like all these movies rely on previous, like, if not intimate connections, just like personal emotional ties that Indy has with various amounts of people, but you never really see him meet and like forge new connections. I guess maybe with Short Round and Willie,
No, with short
but
round, he
like,
already knows him.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it's always like someone in his past is ready to help him or wants to screw him over because they knew him in the past. Like,
I
what is the like web series of just him meeting people in coffee shops?
I think that's one thing that this movie does differently than like every other movie ever, especially when it comes to like blockbuster movies, is that it's always about like what are you doing to like most of the time the development in character is not with someone they already knew, but it's meeting a new person and then doing something with them, especially in big action movies. It's like, how can we action together when we're different, you know? But it's like now Indiana Jones is like the absolute like we're gonna rely on something that you've not seen before. Just don't ask. And I kind of like it. It doesn't feel like they're like I like that they're like, hey, they had this thing, and you're like, cool, let's do it. I like that they
Yeah,
don't try to over complicate their relationship, and they don't try
yeah,
to like literally. The third movie is the first one that explains a backstory of anything, and that they do that prequel with River Phoenix at the beginning.
yeah.
That's like the only one.
It's there just to establish that this is a world with history, with characters who have history with one another. And it just gets you thinking about possible connections, but like you're always just there for the present most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, I think there's always a good balance because I think there's plenty of that in Last Crusade as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, it is strange because like knowing what we know now with all the different Star Wars projects there are, everything is continuity, everything is explained, and that's not necessarily how like Star Wars always was, but like Star Wars quickly became that. And
Yeah.
Indiana Jones was always meant to be a very different kind of adventure series that didn't rely on you seeing anything in any particular order, or it no minor character was precious.
Yeah.
And it's easy for someone our age in this generation to want to see connections and continuity because everything has that now. Everything has the possibility for a spinoff. I can't even think of one right. Like I guess I don't know the Buzz Lightyear movie. There's so many of them, and also like I get depressed sometimes when I just think of one. Like it's easy to use that lens when looking back on an old movie like this. But I think the answer to that is to not demand with your dollar, hey, I want a mini-series about Short Round. Although, that doesn't sound too bad.
No, I was about to say, that would be epic. I kind of do want that.
But the principle of churning every IP is just inherently bad for it's just bad for art, I think.
Yeah.
And
that's one thing I love about Indiana Jones, though. Is that they're just like, we just made these movies. They're cool.
And if you want to write fanfic, by all means. In fact, I might have some ideas about the aliens, about Indian Marion.
Oh no.
About who knows? Like, not in connections. They're not.
Okay.
Unless you want them to be.
No, I don't. I don't. That's what I said.
No, I just mean like, it doesn't have to be part of this big narrative. There doesn't need to be an indie epic. You know, you can just have like, you can imagine the margins.
Yeah. I will say, you say that no minor characters are super important, but Sala is pretty important in this movie. He does come back. He comes back too. He comes back in Last Crusade.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I'll take your word for it, and it's making me more excited.
He's one of the major characters in The Last Crusade, which is pretty awesome. It's why The Last Crusade works so well, because it took everything that this movie did well after like a kind of crap show of a movie, and then was like, all right, everything that worked in Raiders of the Lost Ark, bring those people back because they're epic, and we're just gonna like do it, and we're gonna do the Christian thing again because people liked that more than they liked the satanic stuff, and we're gonna go biblical again, and it turned out great. And they're like, oh, people didn't like the weird like cult bad guys. All right, bring back the Nazis. Like they literally took everything that did well about this movie and we're like, all right, round 2, baby.
I feel like every episode we've had our little moments where we just want to talk about the Last Crusade.
Yeah.
And I feel very prepped for that episode already. That I can just I'm having all these ideas of like what the significance of that movie is. So anyway, we'll keep going.
It was originally Indiana Jones was supposed to be a trilogy, so it was the end of a trilogy.
We'll get to it.
But yeah. Anyway, okay. Anyway. So after, I guess he gets Marion, and they go and meet Sala to try to find the Well of Souls. My question to you is: did you believe? This is a weird question because you've seen this movie a lot since the first time. Do you think that you believed that Marion died when you saw it for the first time?
I don't think I've seen that moment more than 3 times though.
Okay.
So I don't think I did.
I don't think I believed it either. Not even because like, oh, I've seen the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but like it just wasn't a very convincing. They tried to play it off like it was really convincing because like Indy is like sulking and he's like, Sala, she's dead. And he's like, I know, it's fine. But it like doesn't feel convincing because there's no like epic music that plays whenever she dies. It's just kind of like boom, oh, she's dead. But
I feel like it played her. Did it not play her theme?
It may have, very softly. I honestly can't remember. But I love so many of these scenes in Cairo. The scenes where he's just being chased by random ninjas. When he opts out of a sword fight to shoot one instead, iconic. I think everyone knows about why that's a thing, so I feel like I probably shouldn't mention it.
Yeah, if you want.
It was not originally supposed to be a shootout. It was supposed to be this like 10-minute sword fight or 5-minute sword fight between Indy and this guy, but then Harrison Ford had pneumonia. And so he whipped out his pistol and shot the guy. Really, he shot him with a real bullet, Christian. That man died. That man died on set. He pulled an Alec Baldwin before it was cool.
Too soon. Too
Too
soon.
soon. That was too soon.
You said that before I could even get the too soon out.
Yeah, that was too soon. Anyway, but yeah, no, Spielberg liked it, and so they reshot it to make it look more natural, like he was supposed to do that instead of Harrison Ford just being sick and shooting him. So yeah, and it turned out to be one of the most Indiana Jones parts of that movie, because that's just Indiana Jones wouldn't waste his time with that if he has a gun in his pocket. But yeah, no, I love that scene. I love the monkey man. I like is he like can he speak to the monkey?
Anyone can speak to a monkey.
Okay, but can he understand the monkey back?
I understand monkey back. It's like, you got the spine, you got the fur.
I'm just gonna quit the fight. You can continue this on your own if you want.
I wish I could have kept a straight face when I said anyone can speak to a monkey.
My gosh. No, but seriously, do you think that he understands that monkey? Because he talks to it and then it talks to him like he understands it.
Nothing very sophisticated is going on there. All he does is like let the monkey do his thing, and then follows the monkey once the monkey is hanging out with Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And then it dies. Rip the monkey.
It's a pretty bad date. I talk about bad date stories.
You want to tell one right now, or have you ever had a bad date?
I've had a few.
All right, so the next scene in the movie, I was trying to make a funny little. It didn't work. Anyway, so let's just continue. Yeah, like Sala is. I love his. I love that he sings when he's happy. So I don't know why, but I just get such joy whenever he starts singing in the middle of him. Like, I think when's the first that is that the first time it happens, when they decode the medallion and they figure out that Belloc's staff is too long, and he starts singing. And the second time is when Marion kisses him.
Mm-hmm. What in the songs that he's singing, I'm confused about, because they seem to be like British propaganda songs.
Yeah,
like British like anthems. And it's just like, why does he like these songs?
well, that would make sense because if I'm not mistaken, the British occupied a lot of that land before World War II. Am I wrong?
I would not be surprised, and that could have something to do with the fact that Salah is acquainted with Indy, who works for a British university.
Yeah,
and Salah's actually also pretty like rich, so something to do with him aligning himself with the British Empire.
Yeah, I think if I'm not mistaken, the British had a huge presence in Egypt pre-World War II, so that would make sense. That's why he's.
What is Salah's job?
He digs. Literally, he's a digger, because remember, Indy says that he's the best.
He employs people to dig.
Yeah, or he does it himself. I don't know, because he said he's the best digger.
I think that means that he has a bunch of workers.
Maybe. Either way, he's there digging for the Ark. So, yeah. They also all the kids end up calling him Uncle Indy. I still to this day get confused when they do that. Before they come out and he's like, I thought they'd find you in there. I was like, why do all these random kids show up and say Uncle Indy?
Sons. Those are Salah's kids.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Those are all of Indiana Jones's kids.
No, Salah's kids.
Oh, yeah. No, I get that. But I don't, like, in the process of, like, watching the scene where he, like, gets up and everybody points guns at him, like, and then all the kids come in, I'm I'm always super confused until they come out and Saul starts talking. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Those are his kids.
Oh, it means that like you forget the connection.
I always forget it in the moment, and I'm
Yeah.
like, why are all these kids just like Uncle Mindy? And I'm like, oh, I get it because I always forget. So I always get really confused for a minute right after that. Um, I guess the next big part is actually finding the ark. So that's the snakes. Why does it always have to be snakes? That is another like line that I used to quote constantly. And I know
What situations does that line call for?
oh, literally, I would just be sitting in my house and I'd go, why does it have to be snakes?
Man.
I'm telling you, I did not quote movies in like times when it makes sense to quote them. I would just say it.
Alright. Is it a good time to tell the antlers story?
Yes.
Okay, so me and Spencer were on a trip with our youth group, and every now and then people just get into pun battles, and there's a pun battle about deer, about seeing a deer, and I had thrown out a few decent puns. I mean, at the time, I felt like I was hilarious whenever I do puns, but puns are okay. And then when I got to a dry moment in the conversation, I just said I couldn't think of any other puns, so I just said antlers, and like still got a laugh.
Yeah.
Um, and Spencer was there, and he said, "Why is that funny?" And I said, "You see, Spencer, I couldn't think of a joke, so I just said a word that had to do with the topic." And you're like, "Okay, I got it." And then the next day, I hear from someone. It might have been you, but I think it was just like I somehow hear the story because everyone goes to me like saying like this is what happened with Spencer. People were talking about I don't what was their actual story. I don't know what they were talking about.
It was
People
bee
ma-
puns. It
people
was
made puns about bees, and then it got quiet, and you were just like antlers, and you were surprised that no one laughed. And I was like, Spencer, I didn't mean to say the word antlers.
so every once in a while, whenever people are making puns, one of us will just randomly say antlers still because it's funny. At this point, it's a good inside joke.
I love it because it's so indicative of you really trying, but not totally getting
Yeah.
the assignment.
Yeah. And I've said it once, and I'll say it again. Indiana Jones gave me my fear of snakes. This movie,
Wait, Spencer, why did it have to be snakes?
I don't know. That's what I ask myself that question every day. Not every day, but every time I watch this movie. But like rewatching the scene where he like falls down and all those snakes, like I can't, dude. I cannot do it. And the utter joy I get when he lights them all on fire, I was like, yes, to death with snakes. I don't know if this is like what made me hate snakes, but I remember this being the thing when I was little that like was my biggest fear of snakes was watching this scene in this movie. Um, I still blame it for giving me my fear of snakes. It's the only thing in life I'm really afraid of. And
Okay, yeah. So in the Indiana Jones canon, you've got groups of spiders, groups of rats, groups of snakes. What other groups are there? Like things to be covered with and to step on. But we
oh,
gotta rank which ones are the worst.
I was gonna say group of Nazis is pretty bad. Like they should probably be at the bottom of the list if we're ranking things.
I'm covered in Nazis. They're all over my clothes.
I mean, honestly, Indiana Jones probably was covered in Nazi after that plane fight. Let's be honest with ourselves.
He was probably covered in undergraduates at one point. Anyway, heyo.
Whoa, hey ho, that's not okay.
Okay, no, and particularly cave insects or animals, like
Okay,
creatures.
yeah.
I think snakes
There,
are relatively safe because
no,
okay, they seem the most chill with being on top of each other. But the rats in Last Crusade are like frantic.
What about the bugs in or the fire ants? Those
Okay,
seem
yeah,
pretty bad.
those are the most dangerous. Yes.
Those seem pretty bad. What the giant bugs that are in Temple of Doom that Willie gets all over her arm whenever
I'm drawing a
they
blank.
yeah, it's the scene where Short Round and Indy are in the little chamber and they're closing down. She has to stick her arm in the thing, and there's all those giant bugs in there. They look like giant crickets or something. Yeah, those are pretty scary. They seem
Yeah.
pretty chill though. They're just bugs.
I hope they really up the ante. I hope it's owls in the next one. I hope someone gets covered in owls.
Can you imagine just a bunch of owls landing on somebody? Or it's just deer. A dude gets stampeded by deer, and they're like, "This is not what deer aren't even native to Africa. Like to Africa. What is this?" They're somewhere like South America, and a deer just runs by, and they're like, "What? Like, who
They populate
translocated
very
a
quickly.
deer?" Um. Oh my gosh, I'm like now drawing a blank to what happens after that scene. Is that do they okay? The last like hour of this movie, I always forget the order in which things happen because the setting is so similar in so many like parts of it.
They stay in Egypt for a very long time.
Yeah. Does he fight the big Nazi guy before or after he finds the Ark? That's right after they
Wait,
get out,
was that
right?
guy a Nazi, or was that just like a guy who was living on the property? Because he seemed like he
He
was on vacation.
no, he was definitely a Nazi. He took off an army uniform.
Okay.
Or he was
I'm
wearing at
not
least
trying
an
to. I'm not trying to like defend his character or vouch for his reputation or anything like that. He just seemed like he was on his time off while everyone else was working.
well, he
That's
also
all I
yells
noticed.
at him in German, and I doubt a German would be in Egypt for any other reason.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, he
but
looks like a. He looks like a. Okay, he looks like a big burly 1940s Nazi, but he also looks like a 2010s barber.
but he also looks like an early 20s American boxer.
Yeah, it's all three of those identities. They're all basically the same person,
Yeah. It's like
floating between
it's those
timelines.
posters of the guys doing this. It's exactly how he fights too, and it's hilarious. Um I this whole scene I only like relate back to the Lego video game.
Please explain.
Have you played Indiana Jones the Lego game?
I had it, and I didn't get past the opening level. Like I
Wow.
didn't get to the like home base or whatever. I couldn't get past the main level. But I guess it's because I hadn't seen the movie, so I just didn't know what I was doing. Maybe I had
I
no
don't know.
context clues.
The level for when you're fighting the German guy is awesome. It's like my favorite scene because you're blowing crap up and you can shoot. You have like this is one of the only Lego games where you have bazookas instead of like bombs that you're throwing. You have bazookas, which is pretty awesome. And yeah, this whole scene is like you running all over the compound, and then you get to fight the big guy, and you can be Marion in the plane shooting down the other um cars. It's just a fun level to play in the video game. And most of this movie is like, oh, I remember this part from the video game. I remember this part because I think I've beaten that game a total of like 4 or 5 times in my life. I actually have it in my drawer right here. I still play sometimes. I should just lend it to
Always.
you and let you play it.
I My roommate has a Wii now, so
It's on the PSP. I'd have to lend you my PSP.
anyway. Oh, actually, yeah, I should just give me a PSP. I've
I
thought
don't even
about
know
it.
if you can buy them anymore, dude. They're like ancient.
Yeah,
You'll have to look it up. We'll look it up after the podcast.
always enjoy a good Spencer Lego memory.
Yeah. Lego memories are the best for me because that was basically my entire childhood. That and pretending to be Indiana Jones, Luke Skywalker, and Peter Parker. um, but after they find the Ark, one thing I noticed is that after they find the Ark and they give it to the Germans, and then they get it back, and then he gets away. I'm like, oh, cool, the movie's over. And it's like, nah, there's still 25 minutes left, my guy. And it's like, what? And so like that whole scene with them on the boat, I never really liked that scene, mostly because it like doesn't really do anything. Um,
They kiss.
I mean, yeah,
That is
yeah,
like very important.
yeah, but they kiss earlier in the movie too.
But his shirt's off this time.
Oh yeah, that's super important. Yeah, yeah, I forgot. Um, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. Little me didn't like it. It was different this time, but that was a very loud noise that just made.
Sorry, I know you're fidgeting with something under the table, so don't hate on
Absolutely not. You do not know me at all.
me. Joey, hands up. I'm so glad this is on video now.
Dang it. No, it's my necklace. I keep rolling it up and unrolling it.
You thought we wouldn't notice, but we did.
Only really like long-term listeners will get that, why that's funny. 'Cause I think we've mentioned that before. Back when we were actually in the old, like our old studio, which was my upstairs in my grandmother's house. I think we did mention the fact that I fidgeted with a toy literally every single episode. And I still do it to this day.
Yep. Well, back then it was like an army toy, right?
Yeah, it was a little GI Joe. Old GI Joe action figure my dad used to have. I don't have it anymore. I don't know where it is. I need to get it back. Anyway, back to the movie that we're actually talking about. Yeah, so he's in on the boat, and then the Nazis get him, and then he swims all the way over to the submarine and manages to get in without the alarm sounding. While they're going down, he sneaks into the hatch, and the alarm doesn't go off.
How do you know there's an alarm?
Because I know a guy who used to be on a submarine. He said if the hatch is cracked or open while they're descending, then the alarm will go off.
Did you ask him about this scene particularly?
No, I didn't think about it, but he was like talking to us about submarines and stuff.
Did he use World War II era submarines?
Yes, he was on a World War II submarine. This guy was very old.
Was he German?
No, thank God.
Was his name Adolf?
No.
Have you been chilling with Adolf Hitler in your spare time, Spencer?
No, I think I'm still alive last I checked.
Okay, just making sure you're not like splitting your podcast duties.
To go make another podcast with Adolf Hitler?
I just want to hold you accountable here.
Okay, thank you. Then we have my favorite scene in the whole movie is the faces melting off scene, and just that whole, I love it. It's done practically. Everyone knows how it's done. They melted wax and then sped it up, but it's still so cool.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't look hyper realistic because there's no such thing as melting people's faces off in hyper realism. But no, I love I
like
didn't.
The three deaths were all different though.
Yeah.
One person's like head sort of caved in, and then the black leather guy, what's his name?
Taut.
His face melts, and then
Belloc just his catches on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personalized deaths.
Yeah, and they were all very satisfying too. They were all like, they weren't just like, oh, well, that bad guy just died. I wish he would have had a better death. No, like they're good deaths. For how bad they are, for being a bunch of Nazis.
I love the level of detail with which you talk about faces like catching on fire compared with like the way you'll just like mention a kissing scene.
Yeah, I totally forgot to mention the whole like car chase that they have when Indy's trying to steal back the Ark, those stunts are incredible. They had a stuntman literally crawl under a car.
They had.
I'm fairly certain that's real.
They used the MGM lion roar as like the sound of an engine.
Yeah, I thought that's what that was.
Yeah, the truck sort of veers to the right, Indy's trying to get another car off his trail, and there's just like a roar.
The sound of the plane when he's fighting the big Nazi is this. It's a sound effect from Star Wars of some ship starting up, and I can't remember what it is. I think it's the Millennium Falcon starting up.
Yeah, I think it's Millennium Falcon. They use a lot of. I mean, it's all full circle. They used a lot of World War II like plane engine sounds. So
Yeah. But no, dude, the stunts in that car chase scene are amazing. I love them. Literally, a dude makes his way under a moving car. That's sick. No one would be allowed to do that nowadays. That'd be against every regulation ever for stunt people now. But it's cool, and I like it a lot. Yeah, that's all I got, dude. Most of this movie is just relating it to other things about why I like it.
Yeah. What else is there? The very end is. I forgot the ending.
It's like Marion. It's like them, Indy discussing like, oh, it should be in a museum, and they're like, no, it's being worked on, and then it's not. It's in a warehouse.
And she asks him out for a drink, and he's like, kind of doesn't want to, but then he decides to go along with it or something.
Yeah. I will say I like having this movie mostly in the same setting. In Temple of Doom, I think it almost hurt it a little bit. But
that's in India mostly.
Yeah.
That's in India for almost the entire thing, except for the China part.
That's what I'm saying. I think it kind of hurts it to be in the same setting for the whole time. Because in Temple of Doom, I wanted something different for a lot of the movie. But in this movie, I love just having it in Egypt the whole time.
Because it goes to so many different locations, I guess.
Yeah.
And then Last Crusade is very globe-trotting.
Yeah, it is.
Very fun, very big budget.
Yes. Very big budget, James Bondy even. But maybe that's
I'm a regular James Bond. I'm a regular James Bond.
All right, well, do you have anything else to say about this movie?
The plane, Jock. Something with the start the plane.
Jock starts the plane!
Yeah. I don't have as much practice as you do.
No, I've had years of academy training. And by that, I mean screaming into my bedroom. So how would you rate watching this movie after watching the other two movies? Or would you say that you should probably watch it first?
This is the first one out of all those three that I've wanted to watch again soon.
Yep.
And that I've felt... I mean, to put it into perspective, the first two movies I watched, like, on weekends or, like, nights before doing the podcast where it's like, all right, I gotta get this in. And this is what I'm doing it. With Raiders, I started watching it like during the school day. I was just like, okay, this is just what I'm gonna do today.
Yeah.
And I'll get to work later. And I got a good spot outside the library and like enjoyed the weather and didn't have to wear my mask. Because sometimes I just like get tired of being indoors for that long. And it's kind of absurd. It's been cold and now it's not. So
yeah, exactly. It's like 75 degrees outside after it was freezing.
So I stayed outside, watched it. I will admit I got to the car chase scene, and because it was going from a bunch of dialogue scenes to just not silent, but like music action scenes, I fell asleep for 2 minutes. So I woke myself up, took a break, and then got back to it.
Nice. I like it. I think this is still my favorite one, and I would always recommend watching this one first because I think this is the best representation of the early ones of Indiana Jones.
It's the blueprint. I think like if I were to make, if I were to find a tradition where like Indiana Jones movies could fit, like except for last year, I've watched Star Wars movies every Christmas.
Hmm.
But for, I think in my case, I would probably watch Indiana Jones movies on like Father's Day with my dad.
Oh yeah,
I'd probably just limit it to Raiders and Last Crusade.
yeah, me too. Me
And
too.
just make that a double feature.
Yeah, no, me and my dad used to watch these movies all the time together, and when we did, it was we would watch the first one and the third one, and then we would call it a day.
Yeah.
Because my dad like refuses to watch Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Like he absolutely despises that movie. And then I was always scared of Temple of Doom, so I never wanted to watch that movie.
Yeah.
But yeah. I really liked this movie and I cannot wait for next week because I'm really excited. I have not seen The Last Crusade in so long. I want to go watch it. We get a Boy Scout scene. Go Boy Scout.
Junior Woodchucks.
Is that what they're called?
We should. No, that's what they're called in DuckTales.
Oh yeah.
Which, if you want to keep talking about Indiana Jones adjacent things, we could go episode by episode about DuckTales 2017.
I don't think our people would want to listen.
I was not under the impression that we had people, and I was under the impression we could do what we want. So.
That is true. That is true. Maybe we'll look into it. Who knows? If you want us to do that, you can let us know. And guess where you can let us know? Epic segue into the social medias. If you want to find us on Instagram or Twitter, you can find us at Last Star Wars Pod. At Last Star Wars Pod, is that it? Yeah, that's it. For some reason that didn't sound right. If you want to find us on YouTube, we're not going to be called the first DuckTales. If you want to find us on Facebook or YouTube, you can find us at the Last Star Wars Podcast. We will post all the episodes. There will be a million. Is that our tagline? There will be a million more. Okay. We will post all the episodes video form on our YouTube channel, so go check it out over there. If you would like to email us anything, you can email us at laststarwarspod@gmail.com. Please let us know any episode recommendations. Let us know your thoughts about any of the Indiana Jones movies, and we will read them on the podcast. Let's go to our email right now and see if we have any emails, because we can read them on the podcast, and we don't, because the only people that we're trying to set up a episode with won't respond. Epic. So please send us an email because we like to read those emails. And thank you for listening to this episode of Last Star Wars Podcast. We'll see you next week.